Hello here, I am Anita studying MTech Embedded Systems in VIT Chennai. In this video, I am going to explain about hardware software co-verification, a topic under hardware software co-design subject. In this video, we are going to learn about why is co-verification difficult, how important is it in system design cycle, and what is co-verification, its objectives, features, and in detail explanation. Then how to select a hardware software co-verification tool, its limitations, and its methodology or flow design. First, we shall see why is co-verification difficult in embedded system applications. Any embedded system application will have both hardware and software, and the correctness of this system is very important. Also, the customer will demand high confidentiality while designing their product. So, the testing will incur more cost. Hence, the verification of model is playing major role for the system design. Let us consider a system on chip design cycle. In this design, to verify hardware and software running in a highly integrated system on chip is a very big challenge because the processor cores are embedded inside the SoC and hence they are no longer visible, and pins are also not available to connect in circuit emulator or any logic analyzer for debugging and analysis. This in-circuit emulator or logic analyzer requires address, data and control buses for debugging, but these signals are hidden inside the SoC. So it is difficult for the verification of hardware and software separately. Along with the functional verification of hardware, we should also consider the increasing amount of software in modern electronics. So it is very difficult for us to verify the hardware and software separately. Then why is it important? We shall see, because in the SoC system design cycle, first abstract model of design is created and simulated. This abstract functionality is mapped to detailed architecture. This architectural mapping partitions the design into hardware and software teams for implementation. Then the hardware team implements the hardware part of design using VHDL or Verilog, and they use hardware simulators for its verification. Software team does the coding in assembly, C or C++, and simulates using in-circuit emulator or processor models. Generally, software team has to wait for the hardware prototype for final uh, system integration. The actual problem arises in this system integration because of the below mentioned issues. Some of the issues are misunderstanding specifications, improper interface definitions, late design changes. That is, if we want to change something, the hardware team or the software team may be giving that design changes after the implementation. So this causes various issues in the design cycle. If we do hardware modification to overcome these issues, that is, these errors can be avoided by changing software, but it will affect the system performance. But if we want to change hardware, it is time consuming and also costly, as we have to change the hardware ICs or recycled ICs, something hardware has to change, then it will be time consuming and cost effective. So we have to make this system integration phase forward in design cycle by creating a hardware software co-verification environment in early stage of design cycle. That is, this co-verification has to be put before the system integration. Generalized hardware software co-verification environment can be seen in this slide. This environment consists of a system or source level debugger that allows the user to download the firmware or software and interface with the system. The debugger helps to read, set breakpoints, reset, halt, and control the execution of the processor. Depending on the environment method, a processor block can be replaced with a simulation model, such as the instruction set simulator, which interfaces the source level debugger and provides interface to the peripherals through a processor bus function model. And the peripherals are represented by C models, that is RTL code, real chips, or implemented in FPGA. The system interface provides the interface between the processor and peripherals. They support early integration of hardware and software and overcomes the problem which we discussed earlier. The software porting and testing done in the hardware or software co-verification environment can be directly used for silicon bring-up, assisting with quick validation and design of product. Then we can see what are all the objectives of a co-verification. That means what we have to do in co-verification. First objective is to eliminate design errors before the silicon is fabricated. Then, to enable engineers to design, develop and debug both hardware and software simultaneously to achieve fast turnaround time in the design cycle. These are all the main objectives of a co-verification environment. Then, what are the features of co-verification environment? Any co-verification environment displays the software source code and the processor state. It also configures the processor memory and I/O address map, enabling accessibility to hardware components. That is, different hardware components can be able to access the address map, which is mapped between the memory and the I/O ports. It synchronizes the hardware and software. Clock cycles. If we consider software, it is a event driven instruction, whereas a hardware is a clock driven instruction. So both have a semantic gap. So a co-verification environment tool must be able to synchronize both of this software and hardware. Then it should detect the interrupts generated by the peripherals using the ISS model. Then ISS can perform read or write on the memory instantiated in the hardware. Facility to set breakpoints or single stepping in both software and hardware description language code for detailed analysis and debug. That means if we want to check at a particular point of time, we should be able to set some breakpoints. Then co-verification environment in detail. If we see here, the software environment consists of a GUI, that is graphical user interface, and software development tools such as compilers, linkers and debuggers. The application and device driver software are loaded into the host system memory. The co-verification environment does not put any restriction and also does not call any special software development technique. The software developed and tested using co-verification can be used to test the final prototype without any changes. Whereas the hardware environment consists of a GUI and a hardware simulator and HDL design. The software and hardware interaction takes place through a processor or model mentioned here in the down. Then the processor model comprises of an ISS and a BFM. ISS is a software module that models the functional behavior of the processor's instruction. The BFM simulates the activities at the periphery of the processor in the simulation environment. Actually, ISS is a instruction set simulator and BFM is a bus function model. So the bus function model simulates the activities at the peripheral of the processor, and instruction set simulator is a software model that models the functional behavior of the processor. The software calls are translated as test vectors to simulate the hardware simulator. The hardware simulator responds and outputs the results back to the software environment. The outputs can then be observed using the waveform viewer embedded within the hardware simulator. So, begin simulating the functions, that is basic functions in the hardware simulator. As we are getting a proper output, then the basic initialization software can be developed. The design can be brought into a co-verification environment. If there are any errors while running the software on a hard prototype or verification environment, if we are facing any errors, the failing software can be run in the co-verification environment for detailed analysis and debugging. This way it is very useful because we will get to know where the error is occurring. Then selecting the hardware software co-verification tool. What are all the different metrics we have to see to select a hardware software co-verification tool? First one is like performance. The performance of a simulation is very important because it has to handle large big software and hardware data depending on the application tool. Some applications may be in the range of 200 to 500 instructions per second. Those many instructions we need to have capacity to perform. So the first and foremost thing is performance of the hardware and software verification tool. Then availability of the processor models. This co-verification tool should support the processes uh, incorporated within the SoC design, because nowadays we are using various range of processors such as ARM, MIPS, PowerPC, DSP. So to verify all this, our environment should be available with all the processor models. Then function of the processor model. Some of the processor models do not support the functions that a specific core want. Check the function of the processor required for the application by the model supported by the verification. First, we have to check whether that particular function is available in our co-verification or not to verify that with the SoC. Functions of the processor model. Then the accuracy. The performance of the co-verification depends on mode used. There are two modes actually. What is a functional accuracy and one more is a cyclic accuracy. Functional accuracy involves running a software on a hardware model. That means no timing is represented here. It is sufficient. This functional accuracy will be able to sufficiently for debugging and testing the software at source code level. Whereas cyclic accuracy, software is cross-compiled to generate an executable on the target system and run on a cyclic accurate. Here instruction set simulator against the hardware model. That instruction simulator can keep track of number of simulation clock cycles for hardware transactions. The timing of critical sections of code can be verified. Functional accuracy produces higher performance than a cyclic accuracy. Then RTOS support. Our co-verification tool should support the RTOS required for the application. For example, VxWorks, PSOS are supported by many of the commercial co-verification environments. Then usage and multiple processor support. Both hardware and software teams must be able to use our co-verification tool for functional as well as performance verification. Then multiple processor support should that means should be able to support multiple processors cores in a single design if the multiple processor cores needs to be embedded within the same chip. Then what are all the limitations in a co-verification tool? First one is availability of accurate processor model, then performance, then support of software functions. Availability of accurate processor models means some of the processor model will not be able to provide all the functions to the processor. If we consider pipelining, then some of the verification tools will not be able to address the pipeline issue. In that case, it will be a limitation for our co-verification tool. Then performance. Sufficient performance to run the complete application software on top of target RTOS is not available because of capacity and simulation speed limitations. Tools do offer sufficient performance to run the interface confidence test, code segments, and individual driver and utility code. Whereas support of software functions. Some tools do not support the array-based functions and some other kind of functions which we will be using in application software code. Then co-verification methodology. There are different methodologies for co-verification, like processor model setup, software model setup, configuration file setup, and run the simulation. This is the sequence. If we see the processor model setup, it is required for debugging the design and is called by instantiating the IO ports. The setup requires the processor identification number, debugger configuration file name, and the debug memory configuration. This is related to processor model setup. Then software model setup. Software model setup involves describing the source code, generating the debug information files, creating executable image with the debug information. The executable image is created using the compiler, assembler, and linker. Then configuration file setup. This is required for initial debugger setup. It involves specifying the file to be downloaded to the debug memory and the script file for the debugger to start. Run simulation. The software debugger and the hardware simulator are then run. The software debugger enables the user to set breakpoints in the software code and observe the contents in the processor registers and debug memory. The hardware signals can be seen using the hardware simulator. The counters of the specific register or memory location can be viewed or set. Then for more information, we can say that as I mentioned, there is a semantic gap between the hardware and software because hardware is a clock driven events and software is a event driven. Then to cover this semantic gap, we want like specification language, that is unified property specification language. According to IEEE property specification language PSL is designed. Then if we consider a code design, we will have generally two things. That is code design specification properties can be defined as two classes. One is the interaction property and one more is a component property. Interaction property formally evaluates the impact of interaction between software and hardware transaction. Events in software transaction may include function calls or alteration of a program. Similarly, an event in the hardware transaction amounts to update of combinational or sequential elements. This like interaction property, whereas a component property, if we see, a component property is a level of each component in a co-design system. Component property normally describes the function of a component relating to the input or output behavior. This type of property is useful for verifying independent components in co-design. In taking into consideration that software is implemented in C language, whereas the hardware normally system Verilog for register transfer level design. There are three main hardware software co-verification approaches. The first one is like HWCBMC. It is a bounded verification tool. Then the bounded model checking of a reachability properties. This HWCBMC bounded verification tool checks the reachability properties of hardware software co-design. Then the TLM model. This is like validation using a service function based TLM that models both firmware and its interfacing hardware components. Then the last one is Bushi Automata to model hardware and a push down system to model software to generate a unified model. First one, if we see bounded co-verification model, in this automatic bounded software hardware co-verification tool, HWCBMC can validate co-design using Verilog, RTL and C. It automatically generates an interface module in C consisting of all hardware input output port signals, and it uses signals like set underscore input and next underscore time frame. If we give the instruction set underscore input, it directs hardware ports to the value assigned by the software. And if we give next underscore time frame, it advances the hardware clock. This way, it provides a synchronization between hardware and software. Then the next model, service function model. In this model, service function based transaction level model, both software and its interacting hardware. This model framework captures the reactive nature of the interacting components. That is, each transaction is repeatedly executed in a loop in response to requests. Each execution of a transaction can be referred to as transaction instance. A system is modeled as a set of concurrent software and hardware transactions. What is transaction? Transaction can be specified in high-level imperative language such as C. For simplified software model, transaction also exhibit producer-consumer interaction pattern. It is like a finite state machine. Formally, transaction is high-level state machine with a start state and an end state. Then it repeatedly executes the loop. The TLM approach can be highly beneficial for verification since a transaction can be a unit of verification. Then the automata theoretic model. In this model, the BPDS captures hardware and software designs as well as their concurrent execution. This automaton is a non-deterministic finite state automata accepting infinite instruction sequence. In this model, a push-down system is a type of automaton that employs a stack. To say in a simple words, there will be a stack and that will take care of a hardware operations and a automaton that will take care of a software operations. Hardware and software communicate through their interface. There are interface states and interface events. Interface states are state variables provided either by hardware or software and accessible to both. A hardware interface event occurs when hardware updates the software interface states. Hardware events identify the situations when both software and hardware must transit synchronously. In this method, when software is performing write operation, then hardware will perform a read operation only. Both will not access at a time. This model converts the embedded software and its hardware model into a C program and utilizes the engine to check the reachability properties of the program. Finally, as a conclusion, we can say that verifying hardware software co-design is a tougher task, and we have to consider the concurrency between the software and interacting hardware. So many researchers are going in this field for verification of low-level software, but they have concentrated more on firmware and drivers. And the recent researches are based on HW, CBMC model, TLM model, and this push-down stack system. There is a lot more research going on here. Thank you.